represented India at junior level. No wonder he's allowing the king Virat Kohli to move in the field. It should be all Chahal laying the trap for the king. Chahal flies it up left outside the off stump. It's pretty impressive. Yeah, look at chest. Can you play? No, we neither. It's beyond our always outdoors streak, yeah. Stoinis on strike. Chahal bowls, Stoinis stretches forward and defends. That is the end of the Chahal over. He's gone 3 overs, 2 for 11, 5 off that one, 28 overs down. Hanscom 9, Stoinis 6, Australia 4 for 115. The Mexican wave goes around the MCG. And a crowd of up around 40,000 in here. Let's head to the Australian Open. Andrew Mays is watching proceedings at the tennis.
Alistair has just taken place on Margaret Court, where Amanda Anisimova from the USA, the world number 87, has defeated Arina Sabalenka from Belarus, the 11th seed, in straight sets, 6-3, 6-2. She's just 17 years of age, and she's through to the 4th round. This is her first tournament in Australia at any level. A remarkable story. Earlier today, Ashley Barty through in straight sets, 7-5, 6-1. Still to come on the Australian side of things, Alex Dimnon tonight against Rafael Nadal, followed by Kimberly Hill against Angelique Kerber.
Look forward to that. Andrew Mays will be there to keep us up to date for the Australian Open right throughout the cricket. Today just up the driver bowling around the wicket to Hanscom. Hanscom runs the ball out to the deep voice, takes a single for Australia. Start of 24 over. Hanscom is 10 and Stoinis is on the 6th. Hanscom in this series knocks of 73 at the SCG and 20 at the Adelaide Oval. Stoinis 47 not out and 29. Maxwell still to come. A question on Twitter regarding Glenn Maxwell. Jadeja bowls and punched out through cover point by Stoinis for 1. 4 for 117. Stoinis moves to 7. A contributor on Twitter at ABC Grandstand asking whether it would be appropriate for someone like Glenn Maxwell to go up the order and open the batting. I know you were talking pre-match about Darcy Short being a good option. Well, Jadeja flighted, hit out through the covers by Hanscom again. Another single, 4 for 118, Hanscom to 11.
I think probably the other thing you need to consider here is maybe a Peter Hanscom can take the gloves, Darcy Short comes in, so that's probably another scenario. I know Alex Carey is a very, very good player, no doubt, but I think Peter Hanscom's a more than capable wicketkeeper, and to get someone like a Darcy Short into your team at the top of the order, geez, that'd be handy.
Stoinis on strike, goes back in his crease and drops the ball to the offside and immediately thinks about a single, but he's sent back as Mohamed Shami was there to field at short third. Hanscom was having none of that. Thanks to Daniel on Twitter for his contribution. 0467920222 is the SMS number if you want to get in touch with Duke Hastings. In the box, off the edge of Stoinis' bat, past a diving Rohit Sharma at first slip and down towards the boundary at third man. Shami collects a metre from the rope and they turn for 3. So Jadeja catching the edge, but it didn't go to hand. Australia 4 for 121. Stoinis moves to 10.
There's some serious turnout there from Jadeja, and he's bowling fast as well, so you don't really get an opportunity to make your decision. You've got to be really, really sharp and try and read it out of the hand.
Chikadarwan's down at long on, just being moved a fraction to his right. There's long off as well and deep cover. The deep backward square. Hanscom hits this delivery from Jadeja down to Darwin at long on and takes a single. 4 for 122. Hanscom is 12. Stoinis is 10. That's the end of the over. 29 overs have been bowled in this Australian innings. And this partnership just starting to build steadily. 21 now for the 5th wicket. Khawaja and Marsh combined for 73 for the 3rd wicket that fell in quick succession. Marsh for 39 and Khawaja 34. Both to Chahal, who's got the ball at the south end of the ground. readies to bowl some more of his leg spin. Hanscom will have the strike. Chetan Narula's coming in alongside me, Alistair Nicholson, our Indian expert on grandstand one-day cricket. Chahal with ball in hand and readying himself as Rohit Sharma waits at first slip. Chahal bowls, punched by Hanscom straight to Dhawan. Runs around from backward point to field at conventional point. No run. Welcome back, Chetan.
Changed the game, hasn't he? In his first over itself, and that's what the two leggies, or in fact the two wrist spinners, bring to the Indian attack: control and the wicket-taking ability.
Hanscom with that high bat raise and a big swing. He hits firmly along the carpet down to long on for a single. 4 for 123. Hanscom moves to 13. Well, Adam Zampa is back in the Australian team tonight. So we'll see the leg spin of Zampa later. And Nathan Lyon, having not taken a wicket in the series in the two matches that preceded this one, he has been dropped for this match. We heard from Adam Zampa prior to play. Chahal bowls a little flatter off the edge and taken. Rohit Sharma dives to his right and takes an outstanding catch. Stoinis is out. Caught Rohit Sharma. Chahal has a third wicket. And Australia in a dire predicament here if they cannot find a decent partnership, the Australians. 5 for 123. Glenn Maxwell will get his opportunity earlier than many would have liked.
Brilliant catch from Rohit Sharma, wasn't it? Diving to his right, almost one-handed and inches off the ground. Chahal pitching that one on, well, just that angle of turn from Chahal going across Marcus Stoinis after pitching on the middle leg, and he had to play at it. And when you have a leg spinner who's turning the ball away from the right-hander, it gets a little tough for them. And half the side gone for Australia. It's going to be a huge bother, even if Glenn Maxwell can turn this game around. He's on fire. 3 wickets for Chahal now, and to think that he didn't play the first 2 ODIs.
Yes, lovely bit of leg spin bowling there. Stoinis just trying to defend with the straight bat, turned away and caught the edge, and Rohit Sharma moved beautifully to take that. Chahal with a big celebration, a leap in the air, a point to the skies. India right on top in this game.
And he has a point to prove, doesn't he? I mean, he was left out in the first 2 ODIs when the Indian team was trying to see how to fit Ravindra Jadeja in as the all-rounder in Hardik Pandya's absence. And he's come back roaring into form here. Kuldeep Yadav also a bit off colour in this series. He's taken 2 for 54 in the first ODI, none for 66 in the second. So, like I said, Chahal with a point to prove, and boy, has he done wonders here.
The Glenn Maxwell has come out in the old school retro one-day uniform, but also the yellow cap. Sort of a Ricky Ponting look from many years ago, but minus the little goatee.
Ricky Ponting innings expected from him.
Well, that's what Australia needs. Chahal comes up and bowls, and Maxwell's forward in defence. So here's Maxwell's opportunity. Is a player that many have suggested, and a number of leading voices have claimed needs to bat higher up the order. He's got the best part of 20 overs, a little more than 20 overs to bat and try and help Australia to a competitive total. Chahal bowls to Maxwell. Maxwell runs the ball down towards mid-off. Long off in play, comes up to do the fielding. Maxwell off the mark with 1. 5 for 124, a ball to come in the 30th over.
Well, it's helpful that somebody like Maxwell bats as low as number 7, so you know your batting lineup runs deep. But with so many overs left in the game, he cannot go slam bang here. He has to play the situation, he has to get the singles and doubles in, rotate strike, build a base so that, you know, when the time is there to hit, he's there at 42nd or 43rd over when he can start attacking the bowling.
Hanscom on strike, last ball of the over, tossed up and out of the toe end by Hanscom as he went to run the ball down the ground and dribbles towards mid-on. Kartik Fields, no run, 5 for 124 at the end of 30 overs. Hanscom 13, Maxwell 1, Chahal 4 overs, 3 for 13. It's been an inclusion of significance in this match for India. Chahal has certainly taken his opportunity so far. There's still a few overs up his sleeve as well.
Plays for Haryana in the domestic setup and for RCB, which is obviously captained by no else than Virat Kohli.
Yes.
So he knows inside out what Chahal needs and how to deploy him. And he's used him a couple of times before the first 10 overs are up as well. So he can bowl with the new ball. He can control the innings in terms of economy, and as we saw, he can really attack the opposition as well. In terms of wickets, he's an all-round wrist spinner, as you explained to Chahal, and able foil for somebody like Jadeja or Kuldeep Yadav.
2 slips for Jadeja at the start of a new over from the members, end bowls to Maxwell. He runs the ball into the covers and there is no run. He really emerged to be playing for Royal Challengers Bangalore in the IPL. Chahal. There is Jadeja. Maxwell slashes, hits it out through cover point. Kumar does the fielding. In fact, it's not Kumar out there anymore, it's Vijay Shankar. Another single to Maxwell. He's 2. Australia 5 for 125. 2 balls into the 31st over. So the blocks of 10 overs. Eric Cameron's provided me. First 10 Australia 2 for 30. Second 10 none for 50. The third 10 just complete 3 for 44. Jadeja flights at Hanscom, hits down the ground. Darwin will field it long on. And Australia moves to 5 for 126. Hanscom 14.
What India did really well was during that block of 11 to 20, they had their 5th bowler operating in terms of Vijay Shankar and Kedar Jadhav. So coming back to that.
Jadeja again. Maxwell forward, punching out to deep cover, and again Shankar will be involved. Maxwell to 3. Australia 5 for 127 midway through the 31st.
So they got those 10 overs out of the picture, and that's what India tried to do. You get your 5th bowler out of the picture and then you attack with your spinners in the middle overs. It's a template that they have come to play over the last 1.5 years.
Hanscom 14 on strike, flatter delivery. He runs it down to Darwin at long on, so he's playing sensibly here, Peter Hanscom. He understands this situation. He's 15, Australia 5 for 128. Well, it's a big tick, isn't it? It's clearly worked.
And this was obviously, like I mentioned earlier as well, this was something where India were lacking in the first 2 ODIs when the pacer was not giving them, the third pacer was not giving them that much control.
Maxwell on strike. Plays it into the covers. Kohli fields. Big call of no from Pete Hanscom. End of the over. 4 runs off it. Jadeja's bowled 7 overs, none for 37. Maxwell 3, Hanscom 15, Australia 5 for 128 through 31 overs. The batsman dismissed. Carey for 5, Finch 14, Marsh 39, Khawaja 34 and Stoinis 10. Chahal has the 3 wickets for India, and Bhuvaneshwar Kumar, who's going to come back into the attack later on. He has taken the 2 wickets that fell at the top of the order. So how many overs for him? There are 5 overs still to be bowled by Bhuvaneshwar Kumar. Chetan Narula, Indian journalist, is with me, Alistair Nicholson, on Grandstand One Day Cricket. Chahal will start his 5th over from the southern end. Sharma stands at slip again, 3rd man up, deep cover point. Chahal bowls outside the off stump, hit hard by Hanscom down the ground to long on. He takes the one. He's 16, Australia 5 for 129. There's a cover, an extra cover, long off, long on, mid-wicket, and a deep backward square, or deepish, not quite down on the rope. Maxwell surveys the field. Sees a big gap on the onside. Chahal comes up, leg spinner bowls to Maxwell, hits it straight back past him. Chahal dives on the pitch but can't prevent it getting down to long on. Maxwell with another single to his name. He's got 4 singles to start his innings. Australia 5 for 130.
Interesting message from MS Dhoni there for Chahal. The previous ball when he bowled a fuller delivery to Peter Hanscom, who's played it down the ground. You're bowling too full to him. All in Hindi, so I've just translated that for you.
I'm glad you're here. These are the insights I can't provide, unfortunately. Chahal bowls, comes in with energy and is hit into the onside by Hanscom. A little less full, and I would imagine my translation of Hindi, some encouragement for that delivery from Best behind the stump.
Bahut badhiya means, yeah, well done, well bowled. So yeah, Dhoni's seal of approval on that delivery as well.
Hanscom plays, comes down the wicket, hits in the air. Now he's chipped this. I think it's going to land safely. Charging back, diving, but not able to complete the catch. That was Vijay Shankar, who ran from mid-wicket about 20 metres with the ball coming over his shoulder. He leapt forward but couldn't take it. That was dangerous from Hanscom. He took a single. It was either, if he got it, perhaps going to go down the throat of long on. He got it a little worse. Shankar was in play. 5 for 131, Hanscom 17.
Not sure it was long on's catch, was a little too deep, the fielder there.
I meant if he'd hit it well enough, which was a risky play. Maxwell on strike. He swats one away through mid-wicket. Rips it from outside the off stump with the horizontal bat. Nice wrist work to pull it to the onside for 4. Maxwell 8, Australia 5 for 135.
Maxwell isn't going to stick around in terms of just dabbing for singles and doubles. He will take his chances, he will go for shots, and when they come off really well. Swabbed it, but got 4 runs there.
There is that big gap on the onside. Mid-wicket inside the circle fairly straight. Maxwell punches off the back foot to extra cover, no run.
And again, that lofted miss hit from Peter Hanscom, really, that's what happens when Chahal changed his length. Just pulled it back a bit. He had to come forward and ended up playing it up in the air. So MS Dhoni's influence with these two young wrist spinners, Kuldeep Yadav and Chahal, very, very significant. It's not just what Dhoni brings with his batting. There's been a lot of debate about his strike rate. It's just the experience there in terms of setting the field or guiding the spinners, even running between the wickets. You saw in Adelaide a couple of times where they're batting with Virat Kohli, they just dabbed the ball to mid-on and ran 2. Do you know when they did that last? Mohali, 2016 World T20, India beat Australia. Virat Kohli and MS Dhoni rammed the opposition down to a defeat.
Terrific tactics. Jadeja starts to go over to the members' end. Flat delivery outside off stump and just dropped and run down towards third man by Hanscom. Now, Mohammed Shami was up inside the circle on the 45. He pursued it and kept them to 1. Hanscom 18, 5 for 136 at the start of the 33rd over. Kohli's coming in a fraction of cover. So he's 5 cut strips away from the playing surface that they're on. Jadeja bowls. The ball is worked straight to him by Maxwell.
And just as you pointed out that Virat was moving in, it was MS Dhoni who was talking about, come forward because he might play it in the air. So that was a ploy from MS Dhoni once again.
Long on and long off waits. Maxwell again plays a lovely pull out through mid-wicket where there's a big gap and collects 4 more. Maxwell to 12. His last 2 scoring shots, boundaries to the onside. 5 for 140 Australia midway through the 33rd.
Dropped 2 shot on that one, and well, big no from MS Dhoni as well. I'm just turning into his translator, aren't I, at the moment? But it's fun listening into MS Dhoni on the sounds.
The king of Ranchi, MS Dhoni. 5 for 140 is the score for Australia. Maxwell gets going. There is hope as he's forward and playing the ball through cover point out to the deep. He thought about 2, never 2 there. Hanscom puts his hand in the air and sends his fellow Victorian back to the non-strikers end. 5 for 141, Maxwell to 13 on the SMS 0467920222. Listening to Grandstand while driving from Melbourne to Sydney up the Hume, hoping for a big innings from the big show. Thanks to Will, Cameron, Annabelle and Bryce. Enjoy the drive. Well, Maxie's out there at the moment. Hanscom's on strike. He's running the ball back to Jadeja on the bounce.
Nice you mentioned Ranchi, where Australia played their match 2016-17. It was my first visit to Ranchi as well. First test that was hosted in Ranchi.
It was. All of the smart cities.
All of us flew down.
Jadeja bowls flatter. And it's played out to cover point. Hanscom takes 1. And Maxwell made a century in that match as well. Pujara 200.
Steve Smith.
Yes, in the first innings. And Sean Marsh from memory helped save the game with Peter Hanscom after India had made a big total of over 600. 5 for 142. Maxwell 13. Hanscom 19. 33 overs down. Chetan Narula is going to stick around. Matt Clinch to come in and join him.
ABC Grandstands coverage of the one-day internationals.
Australia versus India.
On ABC Radio.
Grandstand Digital, online.
And now on the ABC Listen app.
Australia 5 for 142 after India won the toss and elected bowl. Chet, nice to be with you. Welcome, Matt, and we were just talking about Ranchi, our first visit there along with the Australian side for that test match. Drawn test match, but Pujara batted and battered like he always does. Chahal's going to start a new over from the southern stand into the MCG. Back, his hand's going to just over the top of the fielder at mid-wicket. Shankar, I think it was, who just couldn't quite get a hand to it. Hanscom. Second time in 2 overs that Vijay Shankar has come into play thanks to that pull-back limp that Chahal is now bowling to Peter Hanscom. Full stretch with the right arm, just couldn't quite get vertical enough to claim it. Hanscom gets in the non-strikers in on 20. 5 for 134. Full delivery. Maxwell hits it high and long. Couple of bounces into the rope, but deep mid-wicket. Converted that into a low full toss there, Glenn Maxwell, and just smashed it. Vacant area for him. Interesting how Chahal bowls to Maxwell, because while bowling in India, Dhoni and Chahal combined really well to outfox him, trying to prevent him from scoring in that mid-wicket region. So now there's a change in field. So interesting how Chahal will counter this hitting out from Maxwell, so to speak. Cardiff's coming up to short. Wide his fine leg. It's Chahal's next delivery into Maxwell, who's playing it back down the pitch, and Chahal's able to do the fielding. 3 for 25 in his 6th over. Played in the matches against the West Indies in December. 1 for 56 and 1 for 63. It's Chahal then, next delivery to Maxwell. He plays it down to long on just for a single to move to 18. Australia 5 for 148. Took 3 for 41 in that first match against the West Indies. It's been an indifferent, I would say it's been an indifferent home season or indifferent season altogether for Chahal. India are experimenting a bit more with their spin combinations. Jadeja has come into play a bit more. Chahal at the top of his mark, bowling to Hanscom, who's down the wicket, hitting it along the ground. Down the long on just for a single. Jadeja didn't play a lot of ODI cricket between August 2017 and September 2018. It was all Chahal and Kuldeep Yadav in that interim. But getting to that Asia Cup in the UAE and closer to the World Cup, they decided to give Jadeja another go. Australia 5 for 149. Chahal into Maxwell, who's hitting hard through the covers, and that's nicely timed. A challenge in the deep to try and prevent the 4, but Neshwar Kumar couldn't get there. Maxwell moves to 22. Australia 5 for 153. This is what, the 3rd boundary already for Maxwell. He's getting those easier runs, trying to pick the gaps and actually finding the boundary where the gaps are. So 11 coming off that over. Jared, who gives me the nod. Australia 5 for 153. With Hanscom on 21, Maxwell on 22. The wickets to fall so far. Carey was caught. Cole hit second, slip for 5 from the bowling of Kumar. Aaron Finch out LBW to Kumar for 14. Australia were 2 for 27 at that stage. Sean Marsh stumped by Dhoni. Looked to whip down the pitch and play it behind square, but missed, and Dhoni was able to whip the bails off from the bowling of Chahal, out for 39 for 54 deliveries, and Usman Khawaja caught and bowled by Chahal for 34 off 51. Last batsman out, Marcus Stoinis caught Rohit Sharma down low at first slip, with the bowling of Chahal out for 10 from 20. I thought Usman Khawaja was the one who, just frustrating from an Australian point of view. He had the 71 in the test match in Perth, but without Steve Smith and David Warner, this felt like a summer which was set for Usman Khawaja. Agree with you there. I think in terms of experience, in terms of ability, I thought not just Khawaja but also Sean Marsh to an extent during the test series. Australia fell let down, especially as the Indian attack put in an inspired performance. Australia with 25 runs off the last 3 overs as Mohammad Shami is coming back to the attack from the members' end of the MCG. Bowling to Hanscom, who's back and cutting back with a point. That's nicely timed. His 3rd man races around. They're able to pick up 2. Hanscom moves to 23. Australia 5 for 155 at the start of the 35th over. Sean Marsh, though, a bit liberated by playing in the ODI format. Khawaja still a bit indifferent. Did get a half century in Sydney, though. Yep. Hasn't kicked on again. Nope. Interesting ploy though from India, bringing Mohammad Shami in. I would think Vijay Shankar will come back to bowl at some point.
That raise from Hanscom, awaiting Shami, playing it out onto the offside as he quickly takes off with a single, playing it forward a point. To move to 24, Australia 5 for 156.
Once India get into the mid-30s, they try and use pace more. If Jasprit Bumrah would be available, he would come on to bowl a quick 2 or 3 over spell, slow down the opposition even more, maybe again pick up a couple of wickets. We saw an excellent slow Yorker from him at the MCG during the Test series.
Yes.
Might have seen a replication of that as well.
Shami at the top of his mark once more. Comes in and bowls right arm over the wicket to Maxwell, who's looking to drive it down the ground, but Shami's able to race out and do the fielding. Were you surprised Bumrah wasn't a feature in this one-day series? Has such a phenomenal 2018 that you probably want to give him a break at some stage, but it felt like he had great momentum with his bowling.
Actually, there's been a lot of debate going on about bubble wrapping Bhuvneshwar Kumar and Jasprit Bumrah. There's also the IPL. I'm not saying the IPL is more important than international cricket, but after 4 hectic Test matches, the thought was that maybe give him a breather.
Shami, a short delivery to Maxwell, who pulls it and gets it aerially. A couple of bounces and over the rope for 4. He's able to hit it square down the fine leg. As Maxwell continues to try and find the ropes. Australia 5 for 160 in the 35th over.
Releasing the pressure a bit, isn't it, Glenn Maxwell, in his own way, in his own style, picking up boundaries at will, in fact. Bringing out all his shots to play, finding those boundaries wherever the gaps are, like I had said earlier. This one, a bit more unorthodox.
5 fours for Glenn Maxwell, 26 off 18 deliveries. He's trying to take the game to India. Short ball once more. Shami and Maxwell is happy to see it go by and called a wide.
Livened up the game with that shot cameo so far.
It's brought a bit of life to what must be said is a largely Indian crowd here at the MCG once more. The crowd posted to us on our screen as just under 40,000. Perhaps a few more have come in since we last received that number. Enjoying Glenn Maxwell trying to provide a bit of a rescue mission here. Shami, a short ball. This time Maxwell puts it in the air. He might be caught. Oh, yes! Right back coming in. The wide-ish fine leg, and Neshwar Kumar lunging forward was able to claim the catch, and Glenn Maxwell has to go. One big shot too many. Maxwell out for 26. Australia, all of a sudden, 6 for 161. Didn't get hold of it as much as he would have liked to, Glenn Maxwell. Perhaps didn't bounce as much as he expected it to, but still swiveled and tried to pull it to the fence. This time, not coming off, like Matt said. One shot too many. Got a bit of a top edge, in fact, there, as we see on the replay. Like I said, didn't get too much power on it, didn't really play it perhaps like he wanted to. And what a catch that is from Bhuvneshwar Kumar, running it, never easy. Maxwell out for 26 off 19 deliveries. A great catch from Kumar, and Shami gets the all-important wicket of Glenn Maxwell, who perhaps with the adrenaline pumping a couple of boundaries was feeling like he was in the groove. But Australia now 6 for 161 with 1 ball to go in the 35th over, and actually had some drinks brought out on the field. So even the wicket. Let's check in and get the latest from the ABC newsroom.
David Marchese with the news update. The ABC understands a man has been arrested over the murder of 21-year-old Aya Masawi in Melbourne's north this week. The exchange student was on her way home from a night out when she was attacked. The Prime Minister's defended Australia's efforts to tackle climate change after Fiji's Prime Minister issued a thinly veiled rebuke during Scott Morrison's visit to the country. The Aged Care Royal Commissioners have outlined a vision for a more compassionate system of care for elderly people on the first day at the Commission, and as senior North Korean negotiators arrived in Washington as speculation mounts about a second summit between Kim Jong-un and President Donald Trump. ABC News.
Are you proud of your local sport?
3 years of hard work and finally paid off.
Is there a particular moment or character you want to tell us about?
Was an observer. It was quite cryptic, you know.
Well, we want to hear your sports story.
A girl doing something different than just barrel racing. That's why I'm eager to do it.
Stories that make you unique. Share your sports story on social media today with the hashtag #YourSportsStory.
He smashed it out to the boundary. That's the game.
ABC Grandstand's coverage of the cricket.
Australia versus India.
On your radio, Grandstand Digital, online,
And now on the ABC Listen app.
Wickets tumbling at the MCG. Australia's 6 for 161, approaching the end of the 35th over. Glenn Maxwell out a short time ago for 26. Let's see what's happening nearby at the tennis, the Australian Open. Andrew Mays.
Brett, good timing as Maria Sharapova has just broken back in the first set. She's playing Caroline Wozniacki. 4-3 now Wozniacki leads, but game's now back on serve. It's the number 3 seed in Wozniacki against the number 30 seed in Maria Sharapova, but both, of course, are former champions here at Melbourne Park. Wozniacki trying to defend her title. One of these, or the important part about this result, is the winner will play Ash Barty after she went through earlier today in straight sets over Maria Sakkari from Greece. So a bit of an Australian interest in Rod Laver Arena at the moment, and there'll be plenty tonight as well as Alex de Minaur takes on Rafael Nadal, the number 2 seed, and Kimberly Birrell then takes on Angelique Kerber, also the number 2 seed on the women's side of things. So a bit of an Australian feel here on day 5 of the Australian Open. Back to Clinchy at the MCG.
Thanks, Andrew Mays. Chet Narula is alongside me on Grandstand One-Day Cricket. After the fall of Glenn Maxwell, out for 26 off 19 deliveries, Australia is 6 for 161 with 1 ball to go in this over from Mohammad Shami. Brings Jai Richardson to the crease. Pete Hanscom is there, not out on 24, and Australia, well, they're in a bit of trouble. Chet, they need to do a bit of work here.
I think it's all about seeing out the overs now, Matt. I think Australia will, or in fact Peter Hanscom has to guide this innings home. I'm not sure if they can last 50 overs, but that has to be the minimum target. We've seen the Indian bowling struggle against the Australian lower order throughout this tour, time and time again. Nathan Lyon, even the other day, getting stuck into Rameshwar Kumar in the last over, but he's not playing today. So, who's going to stand up?
The odd thing when you see Nathan Lyon and Mitch Marsh run out the drinks, you have to look twice. That's the case in this one-day squad. Off the line, and Berendorf was out with a sore back. Zampa and Stanley coming in for the Australians. 3 changes for India. Last ball of the over from Mohammad Shami. He's bowling to Hanscom, who's on 24. He's looking to work it on the leg side. They take off for the single. Just forward of mid-wicket. Hanscom's able to hold the strike and move to 25. The end of the over, 6 for 162 Australia after India won the toss and elected to bowl. They love to chase India. It does look a slowish pitch. It's probably the right call because with the cloud cover it felt like the ball would do a little bit early. It sort of feel like a score of around 250. I think the average score, if Jared Cameron checked that here at the MCG, is about 280. So 250 was going to be around a benchmark score, but Australia's so much work now to try and get to that at 6 for 162.
I'm not sure if India would have opted to field first if the cloud cover hadn't been around. It would have been a bright and sunny day without a cloud to spot in the sky. It's been that sort of a series where slowly the totals have gotten big, at least in the first 2 ODIs. India had a bit of bother chasing in the first ODI.
And Jadeja's going to come into the attack from the Great Southern Stand end of the MCG. Bowling to Hanscom, who hits down the ground to long on for a single. He moves to 26. Australia 6 for 162. Jared told me the last 10 one-day internationals played here at the MCG, the average score is 282. So Australia at 6 for 163. Need to try and find some partnerships to get near that.
It's not easy scoring 300 here, is it?
No.
Because I remember the 2016 series.
Jai Richardson awaiting Jadeja. Plays it just forward of short extra cover. Virat Kohli doing the fielding there. He's getting the single to get off the mark. 6 for 164.
Very different looking Australian side during that ODI series. Australia won 4-1. And barring Melbourne, everywhere Australia scored 300 and India almost scored 300. They lost, but they almost scored 300 everywhere. Melbourne was the only game where the sides didn't reach 300.
Jadeja in around the wicket bowls. The Hanscom edges it just wide of Rohit Sharma, who lunged with the right arm. It trickles down to third man. Shikhar Dhawan races after it, but it'll get to the rope for 4.
Enough on that from Hanscom. and gets a welcome boundary there. Australia won't mind those boundaries even if they come off edges a bit too far away from Rohit Sharma, that one.
Sharma had one hand on his hat, one hand on his hip, which suggested it might have been closer, at least he thought, than what it actually was. As well wide of his right-hand side. Hanscom to 30, Australia 6 for 168 in the 36th over. 6 runs so far off the first 3 balls from Jadeja as he flights his next ball to Hanscom, who rocks back and cuts. Through point for a single to move to 31. Australia 6 for 168. If you look at the Australian team and just how it's changed over the last 12 months, I think back to January when they were playing against England, the changes in which has taken place, sure, without Warner and Smith in that lineup, it was always going to change. Jadeja bowls the next ball to Chahal Richardson, who's forward, pushing it out into the covers for a single.
And you take out the 3 paces as well. So that's 5 changes at least. Or did they not play in England as well?
In England they had AJ Tye, Josh Hazlewood and Mitch Stark playing.
So two out of those 3
of them.
Yeah.
Ashton Agar was playing in the 5th one-day international in the UK. Jadeja's in to Hanscom, who's rocking back and punching it down the ground to long on for a single. He moves to 32. Australia 6 for 170 at the end of the over. So I just want to round this out. So if you look at, there was debate as to whether Carey should stay at the top of the order with Finch, as to whether perhaps they should look to move everyone up one, so Kawaja open the batting and perhaps Carey drops in underneath Maxwell perhaps. But Australia have chopped and changed so much is that you feel like until they get Warner and Smith, and now both have collected injuries, so whether they'll be able to come straight back in, they just need a period where they can sustain a stock standard 11.
Are you talking about from a World Cup?
From a World Cup point of view.
For me, David Warner comes right back into the side. I mean, as long as he's fit and scoring a few runs, I think he comes, I think across 3 formats, has any Australian opener done enough to, or in fact 2 Australian openers done enough to keep Warner out? I'm not sure.
The answer's no.
The answer's no. I mean, you look at, yes, maybe Darcy Short has been raising his hand up a bit more after the T20 series, but Finch has been, out of form all across 3 formats now. Marcus Harris did well in the Test series, but again, the other end, that's been a bit of a problem. And in this series as well, Carey and Finch haven't really scored too many runs.
Mohammad Shami starts a new over from the members' end, bowling short to Hanscom, who rocks back and pulls it backward of square for a single. Moves to 33. Australia 6 for 172. Throw to the non-strikers end that had Hanscom just checking his bat was down. We have seen rather careless running between the wickets. There's one the other night where MS Stoney didn't have his bat down.
And we have had a couple of good direct throws as well. Jadeja with the direct throw in Adelaide. Kawaja did have his bat down but just missed out.
Yeah.
Oh, he was shocked. That look of disbelief when he was run out.
Yep. That reaction of, you've got to be kidding me. Australia 6 for 172. Shami a shorter ball to Chahal Richardson, who's up on his toes and angling the bat down to 3rd man. He's able to control it well to move to 3. Australia 6 for 173. But the opening partnership for the last one-day international series against South Africa in November featured Chris Lynn, Sean Marsh, Travis Head, Marcus Stoinis. They had Pat Cummins, Mitch Stark and Josh Hazlewood alongside Zampa. They've tried Nathan Lyon from an Australian point of view, perhaps as another second spin option for the World Cup in the UK.
Conditions in the UK will change drastically over those 6 or 7 weeks, that's for sure.
Shami in, full delivery to Hanscom, who whips it beautifully off his toes. Forward of square leg, they'll turn and look to come back for 2. Good running from the Australians as Hanscom moves to 35. Australia 6 for 175.
This is the second time he's actually shifted his balance towards the off stump and tried to angle it down towards the leg side. So far it's working given the line that Shami is bowling. And as I was mentioning about the World Cup, the English summer plays out a little differently nowadays, doesn't it? April, May, a bit wet, then you have a brief spell of sunny days. Some call it the heat wave. And then the rain comes back.
Shami charges in once more, full delivery. Hanscom chops down on it, plays it down to 3rd man for a single to move to 36. Australia 6 for 175.
So a lot of teams are actually experimenting of finding 2 spinners that at some point during the World Cup, or perhaps in the latter stages, they might have to play 2 spinners. Teams like India or Pakistan, even Sri Lanka for that matter, they will always, or even Bangladesh, Afghanistan. So you're looking at 4-5 teams, they will always have 2 spinners in their playing 11. It's about the rest to formulate a strategy.
So will Kuldeep and Jadeja be those 2 you'd imagine for India?
No, Kuldeep and Chahal.
Shami comes in, bowls to Richardson, who's beaten. Looking to drive on the offside. Nice delivery from Mohammad Shami.
I think Jadeja will be the 3rd spinner in the World Cup squad, but will he be the 2nd choice spinner? I'm not sure, because Virat has his preferences in terms of the combinations he plays, in terms of bowling attack. If it was Rohit Sharma leading, he's shown a preference for Kuldeep and Jadeja. But while it comes to Virat, he's more of a Chahal plus Kuldeep combination guy.
Pandya is definitely getting picked, isn't he?
Chahal?
Yeah.
Yes.
Shami into Richardson, full delivery, drives this time through the covers. Nicely timed, which should be able to pick up a couple. As he runs hard for the 2nd and initially thought about 3. There's a 3 on offer as well, fielded in the deep by Shankar. The end of the over, Australia 6 for 178 with Hanscom on 36 and Jai Richardson on 5. Great to have the thoughts of Chetan Narula, who will be joining us throughout the commentary. Also for the 2nd innings, we're about to have a double change. Christian Beams to come in with Jim Maxwell of Grandstand One Day Cricket.
ABC Grandstand's coverage of the One-Day Internationals.
Australia versus India.
On ABC Radio.
Grandstand Digital. Online.
And now on the ABC Listen app. You can blow with this. You can blow with that. You can blow with this. You can blow with that.
A score that will challenge India after being sent in, and again their top order batting has fallen away rather frighteningly when you think about the cricket that they're going to be playing in a couple of months' time. So well done India, they've taken their chances, and Kumar, a brilliant catch running in to get rid of Maxwell, who had a pretty giddy over against the short ball. Top edged 1 for 4, miscued another, and then got caught on the top edge. But it's up to Hanscom and Richardson to try and salvage something from the wreck of this. 6 for 178 starting the 38th over. Now a dab down to 3rd man, producing a single here as Shankar is back on down at the far end. What do you make of it, Kristen Beams? What do you think of this performance?
Well, it's been disappointing so far from an Australian point of view, there's no doubt about that, but it's a really interesting point in the game here for mine. They need to keep the intent high, they need to keep trying to score runs, but at the same time they can't afford to lose a wicket here. Big responsibility for Jai Richardson with not a lot of cricket under his belt.
And he's forward, neatly playing away on the offside. Looks like he can play some shots. And is not short of enthusiasm, whatever he does.
Well, I think Peter Siddle is a very good lower order batsman, which probably says that Richardson shows quite a lot of promise in this regard. And to be fair, Hanscom has been happy to get up and down the wicket. He hasn't looked to change his style of play with Richardson with him, which I think is a really good sign.
Shankar comes in right arm medium, and forward goes Richardson and plays it back down the pitch, and he stops the ball off the pace off it in his follow forward. So it's 6 for 179 in the 38th over. I'll just go through the card for you after Australia was sent in to bat. There was a little bit of rain around which mucked up the start, but it hasn't caused a loss of overs. Carey was caught by Kohli, a second slip off Kumar for 5. Finch and Shankar bowls to Richardson. Richardson defends down the pitch. Finch LBW to Kumar. 3 out of 3 for Kumar on Finch for 14. Marsh stumped down the leg side off a wide from Chahal for 39. In the same over, Khawaja caught and bowled off a leading edge by Chahal for 34. And Stoinis brilliantly caught by Sharma at slip off the leg spin of Chahal for 10. and Maxwell top edging to fine leg out for 26. Shankar bowls to Richardson, who turns it neatly away. Wants one, that's all, back to the square. And Richardson moves to 6. And it's 6 for 180. And I've got a few other stats I'll come to in a moment, comparing the experience and quality of these two teams, which is certainly like comparing dust to cheese when you look at the overall numbers. And I'm afraid Australia are a bit dusty at the moment. As Shankar runs into Hanscom. Hanscom forward, leans on it, steers it, the third man, takes the single, keeps the strike, 6 for 181 from 38 overs.
Well, I think that's been a really interesting over for me. Hanscom seems content to get up and down the wicket, and I would have liked to have seen the Indian bowlers actually try the short ball out on young Jai Richardson. I think when you've got the opportunity to try and pin him on strike for a little bit, really either challenging his stumps or getting him with that short ball. I think the other question for me is, would some spin be effective? I think from an Indian point of view, if they can break this partnership and take one more wicket, I think it's going to be really challenging for Australia to set anything that they might be able to defend. So I think from Kohli's perspective, it's looking at, well, we're happy to see Hanscom off strike here, but what do we think our best options are to try and get Richardson out here and see if we can break this game open? If all of a sudden Australia roll for 220, well, it's a bit good night nurse, isn't it?
Looks like it. Yep, they need to rally somehow. Kumar's back into the attack. He runs up and bowls a Yorker, which is dug out by Hanscom down the pitch. Kumar has been very effective in this series, and he was brilliant in the field a short time ago, running forward from fine leg to take a top edge that was miscued by Maxwell. Just some comparative analysis if you love this stuff. India's 11 today has played a total of 1,328 one-days. Here it's Kumar accurately. Hanscom plays to mid-off. 1,328 one-day games. That's an average of 121 games of play. Obviously, there are some very experienced players and some not so. With the bat, they average 46.1, and with the ball, they take wickets at 33.9. Australia's 11 comprise a total of 374 one-day games. That's the whole 11. Pretty inexperienced. Here is Kumar again, driven hard to mid-on, but there's no run. With some quick fielding down there by Shikadawa. And the average of their batting is 34, which is 12 less than India, and with the ball, 39.5, 6 worse. So those numbers tell you a bit about the respective merits, qualities of the side, I suppose, given that Australia's got more inexperience than India, quite obviously, when you go through the 11. Kumar bowls to Hanscom, who plays the little running shot, the third man, to turn the striker over, moves to 39. I'd have to say that this is one of the weakest Australian batting orders I've seen since the Packer years and those bad years in the mid-80s when Australia had defections to South Africa, but came out of that with a revamped team to win the 1987 World Cup. So maybe there's hope around the corner.
Well, I like that that's your thinking.
I'm trying to be positive about this, but at the moment, it doesn't look strong. Richardson faces Kumar. Kumar is beating him outside the off stump. I think that was a play and miss as he pushed it out.
And look, he's got an outstanding action, Kumar. I love the way he comes in. It looks really smooth. He gets a bit of wobble. These hits a length so consistently. And I think it doesn't matter the wicket that he's playing on. I think this wicket's been fairly good for bowling so far, but I'm not sure it's a 6 for 182 wicket.
2 for 15 in his 6th over. Kumar runs into Richardson, who slides the ball away behind point, but he doesn't collect the run. And that's the end of a very good over from Kumar. Just one run came from it. Australia struggling to build a score. 6 for 182 off 39 overs. Hanscom's 39 and Richardson is 6. It's Kristen Beams and Jim Maxwell here at the MCG. lights are blazing away. Luckily, the sky above is clear at the moment, and let's hope it stays that way, because there's 40,000 people here, and I think a few Indian fans in that crowd.
I think the majority of this 40,000 are cheering for India right now, and I see more pace. I know that I'm a little bit biased, but I would love to see the leg spinner come on. I think it's a good opportunity to try and break the game open. If they go at 5 and over for the next few in trying to chase that wicket, I think that's a good tactical move. We see more pace.
Shankar runs into bowl, and it's tucked away down towards mid-wicket, and there's no run. So what do you make of Chahal? That was an extraordinary first over with a leg side stumping and a leading edge caught and bowl.
Well, they're always deliberate when they're stumped down the leg side. As a spinner, that's definitely a plan. That's the first thing. Look, I love his action. He's got a really interesting ball position in the hand. He holds it really deep in his hand, and for me that gives him great control with the top spinner, which was the caught and bowl that he got, but also the wrong end, and control is the key.
And Shankar bowls hits Hanscom on the pad for LBW, not out. He was so far across, I think that would have been hitting the fourth stump. He hit him outside the line, trying to work it to the onside. Not out.
It's the old hopeful appeal. When you're just hunting a wicket, you want the umpire to think that that's dead set out. A long way across, just outside the off stump there.
Certainly showing the stumps, all three. But Hanscom is looking to squirt it away there somewhere. 2 men behind square, mid-wicket in the middle. Shankar bowls 2 men. He goes bang to the onside. He's got under that, and he's hit it away to the boundary out to Cow Corner in front of all the fans under the umbrella out there. A good boundary. An attacking blow from Hanscom. Defiant. He's 43. Australia's 6 for 186 in the 40th over.
Just missed his length there. I think at this stage of the game, you either want to get hitting a hard length, make it difficult for Hanscom. He knows he has to be the aggressor, or you've got to hit him in the head. I think where you can't sort of float it up there to quality players.
So finally it comes up. Drop another man out as he bowls, and Hanscom tugs it away in front of square. They rattle through for 1. They'll go back for 2. And they get those comfortably. And Hanscom moves to 45. It's 6 for 188.
And there's a lot of space out there, isn't there? I look out at that boundary, and a lot of the Indian fielders are quite a way off the boundary, and it's always a difficult one from a bowler and captain point of view. How far in do you want them? It seems comical when it goes just over the head or they miss that wicket, but getting the position of those square fielders on the boundary right is really critical.
Shankar bowls wide of the off stump. It's a wide. That's a bonus. He sensed Hanscom was on the move, pushed it wide, and umpire Wilson called him for it. 6 for 189, Australia. You'd think 250 is minimum here on this vast expanse. This is a great running ground for batsmen, 2s and 3s. There's so much open space. Shankar, right arm into Hanscom. He chops down on the ball, and it runs through to Dhoni, who tries to be clever with his foot, but it's got no pace on it, and he has to pick it up rather than flick it up with his foot.
Well, he's pretty cool, isn't he, Dhoni? You can do that stuff when you're a champion of the game. You can muck around and do that. I tell you, if he's in his first game, the captain would have probably given him the eye and said, "Hey, just pick it up." But I think when you're Dhoni, you run your own show, don't you? You just think you can.
Well, 37, very, very cool cat all the time. Whatever he does, as Hanscom's on the move and pushes through the line down towards long on, and they get a run, and he moves along to 46. He keeps the strike. 40 overs gone. Okay, is this the happy hour? 6 for 190. Australia need something here to try and challenge India this evening. So you're a long way off Dhoni's age, and you're just moving into your prime when you return.
That's very kind of you. I'm not sure.
How's the wrong one?
I've been working a lot on my wrong one, to be fair, and I never used to spend a lot of time on my too slow for this game, but I think Dhoni's got the right call. He doesn't have to go very far behind the stumps there. I actually wouldn't mind seeing him with the long hair. I saw some vision of him the other day with that long hair. I'd really forgotten how cool he was back then.
Well, there's a bit of a shifting around with the gloves at the moment. The WBBL semis are on tomorrow. Who do you fancy to play in the final?
I think it'll be the two Sydney teams. I think they've been consistently good across the tournament. I really hope the Sydney Sixers win it, and the reason I hope that they win it was that we beat them twice. So the Melbourne Stars beat the Sydney Sixers twice. So it'd be really nice, I think. We had a terrible season, but if we beat the Premiership team twice, I'd be pretty satisfied.
Kumar bowls to Hanscom, who leans forward and plays it square on the offside. Coverage, of course, from Tremoyne Oval tomorrow on ABC Grandstand and BBC 5 Live Sports Extra. Good morning to you in England. It is morning, isn't it? Early in the morning. 11 hours time difference. What's the time now? Is it 5 o'clock?
Yeah, coming up to 5, 20 to 5.
Yeah, so we're coming up to some early time in the morning. Put the cover on. Forward goes Hanscom, gets another dot as he pushes square of the wicket on the offside. Tight bowling by India, making it hard for Australia to push on here.
Yeah, and again we see more pace, so they obviously think that's going to be the most effective, and whether they're looking to just dry up some runs and get through some overs here. And Kumar's spell 2 for 16 of 6.2, that's an outstanding spell of bowling and really has put the brakes on, and if he can grab one more wicket here, I think he really has been the difference.
6 for 190. Kumar moves into Hanscom, raises his bat and then goes through the line towards mid-on, mid-wicket and gets a single. So Richardson will have the strike. Australia scoring more in ones than twos and fours. And Hanscom, 47, has become the anchor man in this fairly undistinguished Australian batting performance today. Sent in, but the pitch gives a pretty good surface. It's certainly white. Kumar now runs up and he bowls to Richardson. Richardson, yes, he says no, says Hanscom, as he ran it down the gully and wanted a single, but Hanscom saw danger and sent it back.
And that's how you bat when you're a tail ender, that's for sure. All you want to do is get up the other end. It's a nice place to watch, especially if you're in there with a senior batter. You just want to get yourself up the other end. But it'd be interesting, the conversation with Pete Hanscom here, and we're into the 41st over here. I'd expect that Richardson might be the aggressor in this partnership moving forward, and he's going to anchor this one through.
Kumar goes in again. Short ball tucked down. Did well to get up over the bounce and put it in front of the square towards deep mid-wicket. Richardson does turn the strike over. He moves to 7. 6 for 192, but it's slow going for Australia. How can they accelerate from here? This is a very well-disciplined performance by India in the field, and Kumar with the ball. Hanscom 2 4s and 5 2s, and Hanscom plays a little chop off his stumps. Third man and gets another single. 30 singles in that score of 48. 6 for 193 at the end of the over. He keeps the strike. Let's go to Andrew Mays at the Australian Open.
Jim, I don't mean to ruin your afternoon, but they just have closed the roof here at Rod Laver Arena, so that's an indication that there may be a little bit of weather on its way in the next half an hour or so. Maria Sharapova and Caroline Wozniacki doing battle. Sharapova came back from 4-1 down in the first set to take it 6 games to 4, breaking twice in a row and consolidating that as well. Wozniacki has broken early in the second set. She leads 2 games to love. Alistair Nicholson at the MCG.
Good on you, Maisie. Andrew Mays there at the tennis, keeping us across developments at the Australian Open. 6 for 193 Australia. Hanscom 48. Richardson is on 7. 9 overs to go for Australia to try and cobble something together. Just looking at the radar away to the right of Kristen Beams. There might be a little more weather on the way over Maryborough kind of region to the northwest east of us. Seems to be a bit of bluey green and yellow, which isn't encouraging, Kristen.
No, it is not, but I tell you what, I've got my way. The spinner's back on her.
Chahal bowls from the southern end, punched off the back foot, straight back to him by Pete Hanscom. No run.
And I think this is the way they could break this game open here. But at the same time, I think it's also a great opportunity. Pete Hanscom, very good against spin, uses his feet really well. He may be targeting the spinner here, but one wicket will certainly change the look of this game.
Chahal comes in again. Hanscom works the ball to forward square leg and takes the single. 6 for 194. Hanscom 49. So deep cover, long off, long on, deep mid wicket, and a fine leg down on the boundary as well. Richardson on strike, he's 7. Chahal comes up again, played neatly to backward point, but picked out the fielder.
I'd love to see one of these deep fielders come up in the ring, particularly one of the straight ones. Richardson, inexperienced. Let's see if he'll take it on over the top.
Flatter ball into the pads and worked away by Richardson down to fine leg. Shami does the fielding. Another single, Richardson to 8, 6 for 195. Yeah, they're happy to concede singles at the moment.
Yeah, it's a really interesting one. Richardson being so inexperienced, I think from an Indian point of view, I think you can afford to have one there and see if he takes it on. But in saying that, he's actually handled himself really well.
What can Hanscom do? He plays down towards wide, mid-on, and he runs through for a single that brings up another half-century during the series. The tests may have not gone to plan for Peter Hanscom, but in this one-day series he's been a shining light in the Australian batting lineup in the middle order. 6 for 196, Hanscom's 50. And there's just the 2 boundaries in it. Richardson plays the next delivery from Chahal down to fine leg for a single. 6 for 197, Richardson to 9. He's looking okay out there. Has the duty to play support role to Peter Hanscom. 50 off 57 deliveries for Hanscom. That was the end of Chahal's 7th over, 3 for 35 for the leggy. Australia now 3 short of the 200 mark, but well, even 240, 250, Kristen, would seem well short of what would be required with India's potent batting lineup and history at the MCG, suggesting that you need more than that as well.
Yeah, I think 250 is probably the best they can perhaps hope for, particularly if they lose another wicket. But I think Hanscom's played a really good hand here. I've been really impressed with his maturity, and I hope that he can find himself well and truly in this lineup and playing that sort of Mike Hussey role with the middle order.
Start of a new over, Shami bowls outside the off stump. Richardson tries to drop it down through third man but misses.
And I think it's something we see a lot of value in from an Australian point of view. Those batters, those middle order batters that can bat with the tail, can give them confidence, happy to get up and down the wicket and play those key roles, whether it be Bevan or Hussey and these type of guys. I think it's a really important part of the way that we like to go about our batting, and it allows our top order to flourish and be aggressive.
Up comes Shami again from the members' end. Richardson on strike, defends straight back to the bowler, no run. We need the top order to get the Australians away as well, Kristen. It's something that they haven't been able to do, especially the opening combination in this series. Finch and Carey haven't really given Australia the platform that it would have liked to launch from.
No, and it sort of brings up the question again about Darcy Short being so successful in the Big Bash, but is it time for him to be back in this lineup? He is aggressive.
Richardson hammers away at the creases. Up comes Shami, right arm over. He drops to the offside to cover point. Jadeja swooped but didn't throw. They get through for a single. Richardson to 10, 6 for 198. And we are midway through the 43rd over of the Australian innings.
I think the other interesting one for me is Shaun Marsh. I think, can he play a role opening the batting? I think that could potentially be having a look at how they're structuring that batting lineup as well. He's in outstanding touch, so for that reason you're probably happy to leave him where he is, but I think to give the side a little bit more balance and stability, I think he can play a role opening the batting and probably allows a Finch to keep going the way he's going and be aggressive.
Hanscom steps across to the offside and hits hard down the ground to Shikadawa at long on. He takes the single. 6 for 199. Hanscom to 51. That was well outside the off stump, and Hanscom has shown an interest in trying to hit the ball to the onside, even with an off-stump line at times. He's done it effectively at the time, though, playing the ball straighter than perhaps he'd initially intended. Backward point, deep point, cover, mid-off, long on, mid-wicket, deep square leg, fine leg on the boundary, third man as well on the rope. Short, pulled away, a controlled shot from Richardson. He splits deep square and fine leg, and they almost collide, sliding to try and make the save. Kartik's overrun it, and the other Indian player that dived at the ball is in a prone position and is very, very slow to get up.
Well, it's hard to know whether that's... I think that's usually one of two things. It looks like he's grabbing his knee there. So whether he actually landed on that knee or he's twisted that knee, oh no, he's twisted that. That does not look very pleasant at all.
Now, was the boundary saved? I don't think it has been. It's hand on ball, body on rope will be my read on this. Kristen, what about you?
That's definitely a 4, I think. Unfortunately, he's twisted the knee. He's done a great attempt at the save, but just popped the hand out and touched the ball while he was touching the rope, and they will call that 4. And he's not in a good way here. Physio's with
Jadab, isn't it? Is it? Let's have a look. Shirt number 5. It's Ambati Raidu, who's on the field as a substitute, it seems. That's why I was having trouble working out who it was. Up comes Shami and bowls, and the ball's hit through the offside nicely by Richardson through the covers. He takes 2. So the last 2 deliveries have yielded 6 runs for Australia, and the total moves along to 6 for 205. Richardson 16, Hanscom 51.
That's your worst nightmare, isn't it? You're out there sub-fielding, you're doing the right thing, you haven't been selected, and you get injured. Could there be anything worse?
That was potentially going to be quite nasty, because Raidu dived hard to try and save it. Coming the other way, Kartik, they weren't too far off colliding, and no, that can be very messy. And think back to all those years ago, different set of circumstances under the high ball with Steve Waugh and Jason Gillespie.
I remember watching that live and just having my head in my hands. I couldn't believe it. This is one of the worst things to see in the game, and it normally comes from great intent and probably just not being aware of who's around you. And everyone says, oh, you've got to call the other person out. But sometimes you're actually just under pressure and only thinking about getting the ball in your hand, and unfortunately those things can happen.
7 overs to go. Chahal starts a new one. Flights, and Hanscom runs the ball down to long on. Hanscom to 52 with that single. Australia 6 for 206.
Now it's time to get that extra fielder in the ring, I think. I think it's a good opportunity. Let's see what Richardson's capable of here. He's still got the field spread, but a very tight cover and mid-wicket.
He's on 16. Chahal bowls, and Richardson drops to point. Darwin quickly into field and deny a run. Hanscom was backing up a long way, but sent back. The batsmen out for Australia: Maxwell 26, Stoinis 10, Khawaja 34, Marsh 39, Finch 14, Carey 5. Richardson, the right-hander, waits for Chahal with his legs been hit in the air, caught at mid-wickets. Trying to turn the ball to the onside, he's picked out the fielder. Jadab takes the catch. Richardson out for 16. Chahal has 4 wickets. What an inclusion he has been at the MCG. Australia 7 for 206 midway through the 44th over.
You'd be disappointed with that, Richardson. I think he was looking for the one and just looking to get it down the ground and trying to get it down to one of those sweepers, but actually just ended up steering it to that mid-wicket there. Very disappointing, but that's very, very good bowling from Chahal. I think he's been very impressive. He's mixed really well. We've seen a mixture of leg spinners and top spinners in particular, and I think he's very hard to read off the wicket, and it looks to me like Zampa is coming out. Siddle was actually listed to come in next, so whether that's an aggressive move, has Zampa been sent out here to try and get a few boundaries and try and get that intent going, or maybe he's just saying, well, I'm a leg spinner, I know what this guy's doing. So
well, how easy is it for a leg spinner to pick a fellow leg spinner, Kristen Beard, speaking from experience?
Well, you would say pretty good, but I hate facing other leg spinners. I think because you know what they're doing, and maybe that's the bit of ego, maybe that's just you don't want to get out to another leg spinner, but you'd expect that Zampa be well aware of what he's trying to do, or maybe he's actually just said to the skipper, get me out there because I want to see how this wicket's playing, and I'm probably going to need to be the difference tonight if we're going to win this game. And I do think that Zampa has to play a very big role if Australia are going to win this game.
7 for 206, 3 to come in the 44th over. Australia sent in by India earlier today. Overcast conditions, lights on at the MCG. Chahal with 4 wickets to his name, 4 for 36. He bowls to the new batsman Zampa, who watchfully comes forward in defence. Hanscom is 52 off 59. He stands at the non-striker's end at the moment. Chahal is up from the southern end. Hanscom off the back foot defends back to the bowler.
And he would be eyeing off this 5 run. It's hard not to, I think, as a bowler. You know you've actually still got 2 overs after this. And hopefully he doesn't go searching though. Looks like the top spinner there.
Work behind square by Zampa. He's off the mark with a single. 7 for 207. Zampa 1. And that is the end of Chahal's 8th over, 4 for 37. Kristen Beams, take us through what you've liked about his bowling during this match so far.
Look, I just think he's mixed really well from my perspective, and I think he's also mixed up the pace as well as the length, and I think that's really critical for a leg spinner in this format, is to not kind of stay with what's working. I think you've actually got to put yourself out of your comfort zone a bit, and I like the mixture of top spinners and leg spinners. I think that's made him very hard to pick and very hard to get some consistency as a batter here, and it gets absolutely no easier that the leg spinner finishes it over and then you look up at Kumar standing at the top of his mark. Could there be anything worse, I think, from an Australian batting perspective? And it's been very disciplined from this Indian bowling attack.
Start of his 8th over, 2 for 19. Down the leg side, helped on its way by Zampa. His coverage on the boundary at fine leg. Zampa takes the single on offer. He moves to 2, and Australia 7 for 208 at the start of the 45th over. Peter Hanscom's on strike, and he needs to face as many balls as possible from here. The remaining 35. 52 off 59 balls.
Interesting to see how much intent he actually wants to show here. Does he really want to take it on and maximise these last 5?
Hanscom waits for Bhuvaneshwar Kumar, and he pulls. Ball that was on a length. He hit that nicely through, straightish mid-wicket, out to the deep. Rohit Sharma was at long on and ran around to his right to do the fielding. A couple of runs for Hanscom. He's 54 and Australia 7 for 210.
I think the answer's yes. I think he thinks here he's probably well placed now. 54 runs so far to try and take this on. I think if they go run a ball from here, it's just not going to be enough.
Deep backward square, mid-wicket, right on the edge of the circle. There's a long on. Up comes Bhuvaneshwar, and the glide is played. The horizontal bat by Hanscom outside the off stump. He runs it down to third man for 1. Chahal does the fielding. 7 for 211. Hanscom to 55. 3 to come in the 45th over. Bhuvaneshwar Kumar 2 for 23 on 7.3. 4 wickets for Chahal. The other wicket taker, Mohammad Shami, who picked up Maxwell, who was caught brilliantly by the current bowler, Kumar, down at fine leg, falling to the short ball. Slashed away through backward point, lovely shot. Up on his toes, Zampa played it away well, but coverage out in the deep, only a single. Zampa to 3, 7 for 212.
That's a nice shot by Zampa. He seems really comfortable out there. He doesn't seem tentative at all, and happy to get up and down the wicket with some really good intent. I think from Hanscom's point of view, that's probably going to give him some comfort in the way that he wants to go about it. And sometimes a lot about batting in this stage of the game is giving each other the confidence.
Hanscom's on strike, and he pulls away out to the deep. Shikhar Dhawan comes around from deep backward square. It's gone out to deep mid-wicket. Dhawan, a great chase, just pulls it in about a metre from the rope. And they return for 3. Hanscom to 58. Appears to have hit the go, but Australia 7 for 215, a ball to come in the 45th over.
He's nice and deep there too. He loves that really deep position in the crease. He's a long way back already, and I think for Kumar it's about just changing up those lengths a little bit. And I don't know, he hasn't really bowled the short ball yet, but wouldn't mind him taking that on as well.
Zampa's on 3, last ball of the over. He whips away to the onside, and Darwin's involved again, fielding at forward square leg in the deep. Zampa retains the strike with a single. Australia 7 for 216 with Zampa 4, Hanscom 58. 9 runs off that Kumar over. He's bowled 8 overs, 2 for 28. Alistair Nicholson and Australian leggy Kristen Beams with you on Grandstand One Day Cricket at the MCG. Chahal's best bowling figures 5 for 22. That was against South Africa in February of last year. He has picked up 4 wickets on 2 previous occasions, thanks to Jared Cameron. So 5 for 22. He's not going to be able to better. Could he get 6 for Kristen? He's got a couple of wickets to pick up to get there. He's got 4 for 37 off 8.
I think he can.
Spoken like a true leggy. Chahal bowls and forward comes Zampa and pushes to cover. No run. Holy does the fielding.
I think if he gets 6, I'm backing Zampa to get 6 as well. So no, I'm not being biased in any way, except other than to the leg spinner.
Chahal flights it. Zampa drives again, picks out Kohli inside the circle at cover. No run. 7 for 216. 2 balls into the 46th over. Zampa's on 4. He's doing some gardening.
I like that the slip's in here as well. Still trying to take wickets right to the end.
Tossed up, hit, inside out, the slice out to deep extra cover. Darwin scatters the pigeons out there and comes through to field. They take 2. Zampa to 6, 7 for 218.
That's exactly how you bowl when you're trying to get your 5 for, definitely. I think you give it a little bit more flight. That was a little bit wide, but Zampa was up to that. I think that's really good batting, and
deep cover and a long off for Chahal, who bowls, and Zampa drives, and off the hand of Chahal it almost ricochets into the stumps, and Pete Hanscom's got to dive back and put some pitch marks all over that retro one-day uniform of his. Sleeve look going. Zampa the short sleeves. Up comes Chahal over the wicket. Zampa hits forward of the man inside the circle at mid-wicket. Down towards wide, long on for 1. 7 for 219. Zampa moves to 7. Last ball of the over for Hanscom. What's his approach? Does he try and retain the strike with a single, or if it's there, does he go big?
I think he's definitely probably looking for the 1, but I think he's in really good touch at the moment. I think if he over pitches at all, Chahal, I think he'll try and take him on.
7 for 219 Australia. Deep cover, long off, long on, deep mid-wicket. Deepish, squarish fine leg. Chahal bowls, flat delivery, wraps him on the pad. Given! Hanscom is out! Chahal, an extraordinary MCG performance for India, has 5 for. Now this, I think, has been referred by Peter Hanscom. Did it keep low, Kristen Beams?
I think it did keep low. It looked like it was the top spinner out of the hand. But at the same time, I think it's a really good review. I think Pete Hanscom, as the set batter here, regardless of whether he thinks he's absolutely plumb, I think it is important that you still review. I think we've seen a few over the journey that haven't been reviewed. And
Foot coming up now.
Well,
thank you.
No more.
We can move on to front toss.
That's good. I thought the other one was a little bit close.
Yes.
To that front line.
That was the Marsh stumping. It's going to hit him on the back pad here. Oh, that looks plumb. Absolutely plumb. And Pete Hanscom's seen it. He doesn't want to know the answer. He's just walking off the ground, perhaps wondering what on earth was I doing reviewing that.
That's very, very well bowled. I think he's mixed really well, just sliding on. I think knowing that Pete Hanscom wants to be deep in the crease, he's looking for anything that's short to pull the ball, and that one's just skidded on, and that's a very impressive five-run out here on a wicket that we probably thought was going to suit the paces a little bit more than the spinners, but we've seen quite a bit of spin in this wicket already.
Pete Hanscom was practically back in the change rooms with his pads and gloves off, having a sit down and a moment of contemplation when he was given out. He knew his face. 8 for 219 Australia. What a performance from Yuzvendra Chahal, brought into the Indian team. The leg spinner has picked up 5 for 40 in 9 overs, and perhaps still a chance for those 6 wickets. He's got 1 over to go, and at the end of 46 overs, Australia 8 for 219, 58 for Hanscom. The set batsman is gone.
I think I'd be really worried if I'm a Australian lower order batter sitting there and looking up and seeing that he's still got 1 more over. I think as a lower order player, you're probably happier to have a little bit more pace on the ball, knowing that they might test you out with a short one. You practice that plenty. I know as a fellow tail ender, you have to be good at the short ball, but I think it's an outstanding spell of bowling, and he has the ability to finish this innings very quickly. But I like that Shami's come back on here. I think he was difficult. He sort of bowls a really heavy ball, and I think he managed to work over Glenn Maxwell with that short ball, and I think he'll be looking to do quite similar. I'm not sure that there'll be too many full balls.
Siddle, the new batsman. Zampa on strike, start of a new over. Mohammed Shami comes up over the wicket, slower ball, cut away. Nice shot out to cover point by Zampa. Zampa to 8, Australia 8 for 220. Shami at the start of his 9th over has the figures of 1 for 39. He's bowling from the members' end of the ground.
He's had a pretty good afternoon, but we haven't really spoken about him. He's, you know, I think Kumar and Chahal have been so good that he doesn't really rate a mention in our conversation, but it's a very good spell.
It's been the quiet achiever. Siddle to face his first ball. Short, and he gets underneath it.
And it is a difficult ball, I think. He's not super tall, and I think it sort of comes on you a little bit quicker than some of the other fast bowlers in this team, and Pickson was a tall guy too, so...
Well, Siddle's got the sort of short sleeve vest on, almost like an AFL football jumper, but with the short sleeve shirt underneath. Right-handed Siddle waits for Shami, right arm over the wicket, full, driven by Siddle, straight to Coley. They take the single, shot, the stumps misses. Zampa well short if the throw was accurate, and an overthrow. Siddle gets back for 2, 8 for 222. 3 to come in the 47th over.
Not sure if that was good batting or not. I don't think there was a 1 there at all, but they've managed to turn it into 2, so maybe it was really good batting. But
well, he was out by 2.5 metres, Adam Zampa, if the throw had hit from Virat Kohli in the covers.
He's got the vest on. Sid, I always wonder whether it's a bit superstitious with players like that, because I'll sort of look outside here and it might be grey, but it's certainly not cold.
Siddle waits for Shami. Up he comes, full of length and run. Very fine, expert shot. I think this will beat third man. Peter Siddle, glorious boundary. What lovely hands. 8 for 226. Siddle to 10.
I don't think Shami's going to worry about the full ball anymore. I think he'll sort of look over at Coley and say, I think I'm going to go short here. I'm not going to worry too much about that. Not a bad ball, but great hands by Peter Siddle, and that's exactly what you need to do as a lower order batsman here in a really tough situation with the run rate at 4.84.
Fine leg's been moved a little finer after that. I reckon Pete Siddle's seen a few batsmen do that to him with a wide Yorker at times. This time dropping to backward point. Thinks about a run again. Jadeja picks up, hits the stumps, but Siddle, more circumspect on this occasion, decided against the run.
And really good fielding again. I've been really impressed with the Indian fielding so far in this innings, and I think it's not like the India we've probably been used to in other years. I think they look very athletic as a unit out there, and I think Kohli's got the right fielders in the right spots, and I think it's been difficult for Australia at times, particularly when Khawaja and Marsh were new to the crease. I think it was very difficult to sneak some ones through.
Up comes Shami, last ball of his 9th over, down the leg side, hit on the pad is Siddle, and the ball pops out towards mid-wickets. They get through, and a little bit of bat involved in that, so Australia at the end of the over, 8 for 227. 3 overs remain in the Australian innings. Siddle is 7 and Zampa is 8. On Grandstand One Day Cricket, we were with Alistair Nicholson and Kristen Beams at the MCG. The crowd last posted at 43,932, so it's just nicely accumulating, this crowd here, and so many Indian fans are in here. The series on the line, and advantage India at the moment as well.
And can he do it? Can he get the 6 here?
Chahal from the southern end of the ground is going to bowl his 10th over. He has 5 for 40. It's a performance that has warmed the heart of every leg spinner in the country, especially Kristen Beams.
You just love to see it. I think you just love to watch leg spin.
Siddle on strike. Chahal tosses one up, defended back to the bowler. Siddle does not want to become victim number 6.
And that looked, again, it looked like it was just sliding on, so he's mixing really well again.
Up comes Chahal. Siddle advances, tries to hit straight, but off an inside edge. The ball runs out through mid-wicket. Siddle gets to the non-striker's end. He is 8. Australia 8 for 228. We have 16 balls remaining in the Australian innings.
They're very content to have a defensive field, but I think what we have seen is both of the leg side fielders that are out deep have actually come in an extra 5 metres.